Wine du jour. We're having a good time here tonight, having some nice wine and some nice food. So let's go on now to Pinot Noir. Pinot Noir is, without question, the most difficult grape in the world to grow. So you can't just find a piece of land, plant the Pinot Noir vines, and end up making a wonderful wine. Ain't going to happen. And it took hundreds of years, folks, for winemakers around the world to figure that out. I know it sounds simple. When you know it, there's nothing to it. But when you don't know it, you wonder what's up. You know, I've been making Pinot Noir for years and nobody likes it. I'm just using that as a term. Not personally, I don't do wine, but I'm just saying there's a lot of people they've had vineyards, 10 acres, 5 acres, 20 acres, what have you. They've been making wine and it just doesn't sell very well. But there are other people that have 10 or 15 or 5 acres and they make a wine and people say, man, that is really good. The difference is the terroir. Terroir is an extremely important part of the farming business, but more importantly from what we're talking about, and that would be the grape growing or the wine industry. This stands true. Terroir is important for corn. It's important for wheat. It's important for just about it. Tomatoes. If you don't grow the product in the right soil and the right atmosphere, so to speak, it ain't going to turn out good. It's just that simple. And fortunately, about 15 years ago or so, we've discovered that. And now everybody in the world that makes wine or grows grapes knows that they've got to have the right vine in the right soil or it isn't going to turn out good. And this is also one of the reasons, I might add, why we have, I call it a glut of juice. You could go to California and buy bulk grape juice, 500 gallons, really reasonable. It's because they've got more juice than they know what to do with. Why? Because the quality is so good, there are more people selling good wines, and the competition is so keen, it's hard to sell some of it that's mediocre. That's the way it turns out to be. So, what do you think of when you swirl your Pinot Noir for about 10 seconds in the glass before you put your nose in it? What's the first thing that you're probably going to recognize when it's a Pinot Noir when you stick your nose in there and take a whiff? Cherries. Almost always, cherries is a very, very important part of it. Also, strawberry. Now, I know it's kind of hard to say what the heck does a strawberry smell like, because most of the strawberries that we buy are not that high quality and they don't really have much of a smell. It's kind of like the tomatoes that we're forced to buy here in America that aren't vine ripened, truly vine ripened, not just the brand name vine ripened. They don't have much taste. But if you have tomatoes in your backyard, in your own garden, and you grow them, you take them off the vine after they're ripe, man, what a world of difference. The same thing with the Pinot Noir or any other grape to make wine. It has to be proper, you know. And that's probably not the right word, but it's certainly a word that means exactly what I'm trying to say. It has to be the certain amount of sugar. It has to have a certain amount of acidity. It has to have a lot of different things that winemakers are concerned about, and they check out before they pass the word, pull these grapes out of the field, because then they do it just as fast as they can and get them to the winery and start the process when the grapes are perfect. And guess what, folks? Chef Hercules Mantel was able to come out of the kitchen and come out and sit down with us. Let's give him a nice hand for the beautiful job he did with the foods this evening. Chef, I want to say, first of all, thank you for allowing us to taste some of your food to go along with the wines. When did you decide that you wanted to make cooking something that you wanted to do as a living?
Imagine this, being 15 years old, new to this country, can speak a word of English. So here's the thing, wash dishes and then you start cooking.
That's great. Where did you come from and when was that?
Greece.
From Greece?
In 1978.
Oh man, I'll tell you, you talk about Greek food, it's one of my loves. I have to tell you, if you've not tasted good Greek food, you've not tasted really good food. I mean, I know we talk about steaks and chops and that sort of thing, but I tell you, the Greeks know how to fix food. and so do the Italians. I'm not bad-mouthing that in any way, shape, or form. In fact, Italian cuisine around the world is the most popular. Did you know that? It's more popular than Chinese food. And you know how many people there are in China. But I'm just saying, even the Chinese like Italian food or Greek food, even though they're in China, just so that you understand what I'm trying to say. But what type of a restaurant did you start out in?
East Coast, diners.
Oh, diners in the East Coast, yeah. Okay.
24/7.
Well, that's funny. You know, diners are not all that big anymore. They were for a long time, and I think the reason is the facility itself, and they took old railroad cars and converted them into a restaurant and called it a diner. That was a typical thing, right? That's what most people call diners. And most of the food that they serve, even today, is what I would call, if you're in the South, it would be soul food. If you're everywhere else in the country, it would just be something that tastes good, that we like to eat all the time, something that your mother would make, like, as an example, like meatloaf. They probably got some of the best meatloaf in the world served with mashed potatoes and gravy at a diner than about anywhere else you can go, huh?
Absolutely.
And some of that has kind of spilled off, if you will, here in the Las Vegas area into the casinos, where they have what we call buffets, or if you're from Texas, they call them buffets. But everybody else calls them buffets. And that's because they have a lot of choices of food. Some of them you may be familiar with, and some of them you may not. The price to go into a buffet in Las Vegas has changed dramatically. When I moved here in 1978, you could get all you could choke down for $3.99 at almost any hotel. Today, it's going to take $39.99 to do the same thing.
If you're lucky, yep.
Now, you're working in a beautiful little Italian restaurant here, and you're doing something that you've learned about making sauces and pastas and so on, and you're having fun with it. Am I describing it right?
If you don't have fun in this business, get out.
Boy, isn't that the truth. The hours are excruciating, and if you know, one of the toughest jobs in the world, frankly, is to be a chef or a cook. I know that everybody is, you know, if you're an electrician, you think that's the toughest job in the world. If you're a plumber, you think that's the toughest job in the world. Well, I've not been plumber and I've not been electrician, but I have been a chef for a number of years, and I can tell you nobody works like chefs do. It's not an exaggeration. You know, when you go to a party, you think, gee, the party doesn't start till 7. They've been there since 9 o'clock in the morning fixing all those things, and the crew has come in and set up the tables and put out the napkins and all the flatware and the glassware and all the things that go along with it, so that you can have fun when you come to have the party. And then when it's all finished and you're satisfied and had maybe one too many, you're going to go get your designated driver and go home. Somebody's got to tear down all those tables, put all those glasses in the kitchen for the dishwasher to clean up. And it goes on and on. Well, that's what a chef does, is oversees all of that. What does that mean? You're there from can't see to can't see, if you know what I mean. Sun up to sundown. That's about it, isn't it?
Absolutely. Very true. Very true.
Hey, what's your favorite thing on the menu? When you sit down to have a meal here at the restaurant, do you choose one thing all the time, or you just say, well, I got more of that in the kitchen, I'll eat that tonight?
No, I do not. Actually, that's one thing I never know what to eat.
Right.
You know, but my favorite thing would be the fruta di mare, which is the mixed seafood
Ooh.
over pasta.
He's got good taste. Those Greeks know how to eat. You know what I'm saying? You know, Greece has like 81 islands. Did you know that in that country? We got to go to a break. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back. We'll talk some more with a little more time with Chef Hercules Mantel when we return. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Switch to DirecTV today and get a free upgrade to the all-new Genie, our most advanced HD DVR ever. Genie serves your entire home with just one receiver, allows you to record any 5 shows at once, and gives you up to 3 times more HD recording capacity than cable. Order now and lock in your savings for 2 years. Other packages start at just $29.99 a month. So get all your TV wishes granted. Switch to DirecTV and get your free upgrade to Genie today.